All right, well, good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are right now. This is Philip Hutcheson, Lipscomb Athletic Director, and I'm here with head coach of the women's golf team, Jesse Lawley. It's Word with the Herd. I'm not sure where you're watching this or if you're just listening to us. If you are, it means you found us one of two ways. You either came to us on YouTube with our Lipscomb Bisons channel or on Spotify on the podcast that we're doing there. And we're glad to have Jesse here with us today. Want to make sure and go ahead and get this news out right now. If you want to follow our Lipscomb women's golf team, the way to do that on Instagram or Twitter is at Lipscomb W Golf. Now, Jesse, I got to tell you, I'm impressed with our women's golf programs. Some of our programs do a good job on social media, but Twitter has one handle and Instagram has another, and you've done a good job of just having the same exact handle. So really, that's well done for you.
Well, I don't know if maybe that was when I got here and it was like, I'm going to take this over, girls, and I want to make this unified. So I guess it just kind of happened by accident. Hey, girl.
Well, we got a guest with us here. Tell us who our guest is here today.
So this is Lippy. Yes, this is my first head coaching job. So Lipscomb Lippy, and she is our team therapy dog, we'll say.
Okay.
So
I only caught a brief glimpse of Lippy. If you listen to this, you don't know. We just had a Canine Guest join the call here for just a second. But so I couldn't really, it looks like maybe a German Shepherd mix of some sort or.
So German Shepherd, and then I coincidentally had a woman stop me at First Watch, I guess a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, do you know what a Rhodesian Ridgeback is?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, no. And she's like, that's what she is. And I was like, okay, well, she's just a mutt from Alabama.
Wow.
I looked them up, and fun fact, they're from Africa.
Right.
And they used to tree lions. They used to help people hunt lions. So she is very fast and can hunt anybody in the neighborhood. So just a fun fact about Rhodesian Ridgeback.
Does she have the hair that goes in the opposite direction on her back? Because that's kind of, you see that with Rhodesian Ridgebacks.
I mean, her hair does pop up a lot when she starts to track, but I don't think it goes in the opposite direction. But the tail's always been odd, and we've always noticed that it just sits kind of odd, kind of on a little bit of a ridge and off her back. And so here we are.
Okay. Well,
you've
got a royal hunting dog. Then I actually know about those. One of my cousins used to have those. So okay, so you're from Rainbow City, Alabama. For those people that don't know, I don't know a lot about Rainbow City, Alabama. But if you were taking me on a recruiting visit in Rainbow City, and we were going to go eat breakfast or lunch in Rainbow City, Alabama, where would be the stop on the recruiting visit in Rainbow City, Alabama?
Well, this is going to sound very biased, but the golf course that I grew up on, I know everybody's going to laugh, but they have the best club sandwich in town.
Okay.
And then we have great barbecue. It's a place called Pruitt's.
Okay.
And I have to go there. Now, I love the chicken fingers. I know it's odd to go to a barbecue place, but my grandfather highly recommends the pork. So.
Okay. What's the home track in Rainbow City?
Gadsden Country Club.
Okay,
and if you're lucky, my mom will come out on hole 6 and she will wave at you and bring you a snack and a drink of some water.
Yeah, that sounds good. So so obviously you sound like you grew up around golf then in your formative years, and you're still playing. You won a few championships over the past couple of years, so that's exciting. What's your handicap at right now? Do you want to admit, or what's it at?
Only if people don't get mad at me, but I am still a scratch.
All right.
And I do not play as much as I used to. Kind of work gets in the way a little bit.
Right.
You might want to tell the AD that at some point.
Okay.
But
I'll check that out.
But yes, I am still a scratch, and I'll be playing the Mid-Am here in Nashville at Richland Country Club here in, I guess, about 2 or 3 weeks. Probably need to practice a little bit.
Okay.
And then I'll go play the Tennessee Women's Open in July. I think some of the girls will be there, and some from Kentucky will kind of come down and play in that too.
Okay, exciting. So what's you have like a favorite club in your bag? Is there anything that's like just kind of like when I've got this in my hand, I'm just kind of in my happy place as a golfer?
Yes. Have y'all ever seen Big Break?
Big Break.
on Golf Channel, where they used to, like, you had to hit. It was probably about 10 years ago. It got really popular. They've been showing the replays when golf was on the hiatus. And my dad and I used to joke that if I was on Big Break, some people take their 7-iron and hit the fairway, and I would take driver. I really do not miss a lot of fairways. I'm very happy. If it was just hitting the fairway, I would be like a +5 in handicap.
Okay. Well, so driver then. Well, that's actually a little bit. If we could combine your game with Will Brewer's game, our men's coach,
yes,
we have a strong game because Will. I'd say Will's strength is probably a short game, and 100 yards in or something like that. That's kind of where Will kind of did his work. So
he is. He's a heck of a putter. I've only watched him a little bit, like kind of in passing at the golf course, and his stroke really is pure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so we combine the two, and we'll be in good shape. So your dad, obviously, Jim, I think he likes to play golf. Obviously, was he pretty? Was he kind of one of the ones that kind of helped you grow to love the game and play the game and that sort of thing?
Yes. It was really sad when I moved off to college because we played probably every Saturday and Sunday, and sometimes we'd walk 9 on Wednesdays, kind of during the week. And my mom called me, I guess about 2 months into college, and said, your dad hasn't been to the golf course once. He can't do it. He can't do it without you now. So he did used to go without me when I was younger. And then I guess about 12 is when I really got serious about it. Then 14 is when it really took off. So yes, he is. And he probably knows my golf swing better than anybody. And so if I'm struggling, I'll say, hey, and he's like, lift your chin up.
Okay.
So, yes. And, his back still hurts him at times, so he can't play as much. But when he does, I mean, he looks good. So I'll throw in this. He keeps promising we're going to go to Sawgrass. So I've been telling him he's got to work out and get his core strong so we can go play Sawgrass.
You get him with some of the Lipscomb strength and conditioning guys right now. They've got about 120 YouTube working on YouTube right now. So surely there's something there that would help him out a little bit.
I need to start paying Hutty so I can go to Sawgrass. Hutty, can you please fix my father's core so we can go play Sawgrass?
John Hutty, head coach of a strength and conditioning program for us. So shout out to him a little bit there too. So you played, you said kind of started out 12, 14 is kind of when you really got going. Did you play other sports growing up, or was it just kind of a golf only?
No. I played softball for a while and pitched and played first base. My dad coached that. Basketball was my first love. I know that speaks to your heart. But I played basketball from probably, I'd say 5 and then all the way through high school. Loved basketball. I've jokingly said when I'm done with golf, I'll probably retire and be a high school basketball coach. I still love basketball. And then I played soccer for a while, traveled all over outside of Alabama as goalie. And then I gave up soccer as a freshman around 14 when I got serious with golf. And here we are, I guess, what is that, 12 years later, almost 13. And I clearly made the right decision because it's been my career path, and I'm so thankful for it.
So looking back, was playing those different sports, was that something that, you say, well, that kind of maybe, I mean, obviously you've caught up, you're a great golfer now. And so was it something that you felt like it was kind of put you behind a little bit playing all those other sports? Or you feel like, hey, there was some benefit to playing other sports as well as far as a golfer goes?
I think it's a give and take, like you're alluding to. Basketball kept me in shape, and I loved it. And I definitely look more at multi-sport athletes now just because golf is so individual. So I need them to understand that, it's one in, I think it's 7 or 8 now conference schools that play golf. And so, there's probably 50, 55, 60 girls that'll show up. And yes, I won't want mine to win the individual title. Every coach does. But if you go to Vegas, you want the 1 in 7 odds to win a conference as a team than you do individually. So that's how I feel about it. I don't regret it at all because one of my probably best coaching mentors was my high school basketball coach. He was my mom's first call when we won the first tournament.
That's exciting. Well, so tell me a little bit about him as your.
I do think I was behind a little bit, but I don't think I'd end up at Lipscomb in just the path I took if it wasn't for all that different sports.
Huh. So you said your high school basketball coach was one of your biggest mentors. I mean, obviously now you're a coach, so you're trying to think about, lessons you've learned or things that you're trying to pass along. Is there anything that you know, hey, specifically these things kind of came from my experience playing for my high school coach?
Yes. Also my high school golf coach was great too. And she's my mom's best friend. So I can't help but mention her. She taught me the etiquette of golf.
Okay.
And that's very important. If you know anything about golf, etiquette's a very big deal. But yes, high school basketball, I don't remember telling him this. He does, that I was going to coach. That's what I told him when he met me as a freshman. And he said, I'm going to hold you to that and I'm going to push you hard. And he did. And I will say that I'm still very tough on my girls but in the Christ-like love that he had and that I have. And, I think they appreciate that. And I know I do, because he was very, very hard on me. But I appreciate it now because, we had an issue, I guess, one time in college. And I'm trying to remember, I think one of our girls, not one of my girls, but when I was playing, signed an incorrect scorecard. So she got DQ'd and it was bad. It was a bad situation. And, some of the girls didn't know how to handle our coach and she was upset. And she wasn't yelling, but she had raised her voice and was very, very visibly upset. And all the girls were like, she's chewing us out. And I was like, no, she's not. She's not a basketball coach. Sorry. So
you don't know chewing out.
Yeah, you don't know chewing out until your basketball coach was also a football coach. So this is nothing. And I still think about those lessons today. Like they continue to show up in toughness. His thing was effort and toughness. And I've told the girls that for years, like there's hard work that covers up a multitude of sins. And there's no doubt that's from him.
Yeah. I remember my basketball coach in college, Don Meyer, whose name's on the floor in Allen Arena. He used to talk about the two things you can control always are attitude and effort. Those are the two things. He said you can't control the officials, you can't control the crowd, you can't even control sometimes how the other team is performing. I mean, you can do your best, but maybe you can't even control, but you can always control your attitude and effort. And it kind of strikes me that's similar to golf. I mean, you can't control your opponent, the weather, a lot of bad bounce, unlucky, whatever, but you can control your attitude and effort. Those are like the two things you can always control. So.
Absolutely. And I will tell the girls, keep fighting it, because if you get the bad bounce, you will get it back. Now, if you give up, you're not going to, but you may not get the bounce today, but we may get it tomorrow when you're playing a better round. So don't give up on it.
Yeah. So we were talking about, you mentioned playing college golf, and I didn't really speak to it directly, but you played at UAB, and obviously were a really good college golfer there. Also a very good student, by the way, for people who don't know. So academics is important to you, was important to you as well. So
that's probably more my mom, but we'll go with that. No, academics are very important to me.
Yeah.
Shout out to my girls. We had a 3.7 this semester. Can't not mention that.
Yeah, the women's golf team was fantastic in the classroom this year. Also, we're going to talk about they were really good on the course this year too. So I want to talk about that in just a minute. But so then you played there, and then you transferred to Birmingham Southern, I guess. Is that correct? I have the order.
No, it's flipped.
You went from Birmingham Southern to UAB.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started at Birmingham Southern and you went to UAB. Well, I'm curious about that a little bit because, one of the things that we've talked over the summer here, or the spring and the summer, with a lot of our coaches, still have a few of them to go, but we're kind of down the downhill stretch. We've got about 3 more to go after this. But we've talked a lot about transfers. That's kind of a common thing in all sports now, in college sports, is the transfer portal. And so I'm curious how you're being essentially a transfer student at some point might help you think about those conversations that you're having now with potential transfer students as well. Does that affect you in terms of how you think about it? Or is it kind of like, hey, that was a while back, situations aren't the same, and so there's not really any carryover?
I think there's 2 points to this. I am looking for, you're not there yet. But if it does and you get to that point, then please email me. And I do that for a reason, because I was not good enough to play D1 coming out of college, coming out of high school. Probably some of the basketball, and I was just behind. But I worked my tail off, and I caught the eye of the UAB coach, and so I we had to get a release. It was not the portal from the AD, and when she immediately called me back, and we chatted, and then she ended up calling me a couple weeks later, made an offer. So I think I do that out of respect for these girls. They may have been like me, they just don't know. But I also think that I did it because I had my own goals and I wanted to play D1. And I look back at the story and ended up at Barry. I'm sure you'll get to this, but ended up at Barry to coach. But Barry and Birmingham Southern were in our same conference. I don't know that I would have ended up a GA at Barry had I played all 4 years at Birmingham Southern, because I would have competed against those girls. Now I got to go coach them. So I don't think it would have worked out. Like I truly believe it was a God thing, and I loved my time at UAB and Birmingham Southern. One of the best golf coaches I ever had was at Birmingham Southern, and he ended up leaving. So just a great story. So I think I respect the transfer. I mean, I have 2 on the team right now, because sometimes it's a situation where, Rachel, my senior, was just not that good coming out of high school. She got a chance and she wanted to come play at the Division I, wanted to see what it would look like. So, so I appreciate that hard work. And so I think I see it both ways. I think it can be a great thing, because it was for me. Right. But I also see it turn into a bad thing, because it doesn't look as greener on the other side.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that's good. I mean, I just was kind of curious about your thoughts about, transfers, and you haven't experienced it, and now you're a coach, and so you kind of seen both sides of it, really. So you mentioned Barry. So after you finished college, you went on to Barry, and so how did that happen? How did that come about?
So the coach that actually took over at Birmingham Southern a year after I left, great guy, his name's Jason. He's still coaching. He was the GA at Barry. And I ran into him. My sister played high school golf. I ran into him watching her in Birmingham. That's where the state championship was that year. And he was like, "What are you wanting to do with your life?" Because he knew who I was because I had left. He's like, "I really regret that you left." And I said, "I'm sorry." And he was like, "What are you wanting to do?" And I said, "I really want my master's." And he was like, "Well, have you looked at Barry? I know they're still looking." And I said, "No, I don't know if I want to coach, but I think I want to try it." And he said, "Well, I'm going to email, his name's Brian Farrer, and then I'll have him call you." Sure enough, within 2 days, he called me. I went for an interview pretty quickly. And then he hired me, I guess, about 2 or 3 weeks later. So again, if I had time to kind of lay out the entire timeline of how I've ended up at Lipscomb, I really truly feel like God has called me into coaching, because there's been so many, I happened to run into him when he was recruiting a girl with my sister. So it just was total happenstance that we hit into each other, and then it spiraled into here I am, my 6th year here. So again, just so thankful. And I loved my time at Barry.
Yeah. And you had a lot of success there at Barry too. And so you go into that program, and really the program elevates, have a lot of good success with individual golfers, but also with the team. And then you get the opportunity to come to Lipscomb in 2017, summer 2017. So that's three years now that you've been doing that. And so what are the kind of the challenges you see when you're coming in? You've come to kind of 2 different scenarios where you've either come in as a GA and then head coach or head coach. What are the challenges that you see in trying to take a program that's, let's say done okay, but not where it needs to be, and now you're trying to move it on? What are the biggest challenges that you kind of face in the short term, and then kind of the long run as well?
Well, my age, I was very young at both places. So just getting the girls to understand that, yes, I am not much older than you, but I promise that I'm here to fight for you. And I want to win you over. I don't want you just to respect me because I'm your coach. I want to win you over, and for you to believe that I believe in you. Mm-hmm. So my age is probably the biggest thing. And then making sure you get the right recruits in pretty quickly, because everybody that served from the previous, it's like you have to win over, but you want to better the program. So you've got to get better recruits. And continue to build off what you have, kind of the foundation that was already there. So you just continue to build. So I think, and we're definitely seeing it now that I'm getting the bigger and better recruits. But when you first, in your first year, you've got girls that say, well, I am good enough. And I'm like, yeah, yes, you are, but I'm building. And then you want the bigger recruit and they just don't believe in you in the first couple of years. And now I'm starting to see that. And just a testament to my girls at Berry. They believed in me. They ended up winning the conference championship a year after I had been at Lipscomb. They go to the national championship. What an honor for them. So proud of them. And we're starting to see that here now where the girls are coming in and I'm getting more and more emails from girls all over the country of, I see what you're doing and I want to be a part.
Yeah. Well, the good news is this. Good news, bad news is this. You're automatically going to pretty soon get out of that worry about like, oh, you seem like you're just exactly my age. Because I was talking actually we have a volunteer assistant coach coming in another sport here, and she Brittany Estes, I don't mind saying it. She's coming in. It's already been announced for volleyball, and Brittany was a fantastic volleyball player for us, player of the year. And but there's nobody on the team now that was playing when she was there. And I said, so, hey, don't worry. They all think you're old now. I mean, you're 25 or something. I don't know how old she is, but, but that's, that won't take long. But, yeah, so definitely just kind of this idea of kind of building trust and confidence. And so talk a little bit about the balance there, because you've said, look, I've had tough coaches and I've had people who really, in the right sort of way demanded excellence out of me. And so there's kind of that part of it. I know Anson Dorrance, who's won multiple national championships as the women's soccer coach at North Carolina, probably one of the most successful coaches in all of college sports, quite frankly. And, somewhere he has a quote, I'll get it roughly right, that he says, it's a very rare player who will ever exceed the expectations that a coach has for them. Like usually you're not going to have many who will exceed the expectations. So if the coach has low expectations, then probably that's what you're going to get, And so how do you balance that tension between kind of demanding in the right sort of way and expectations, but also golf is such a mental sport, not kind of crushing the psyche in the process?
Yeah, I think if I was Lenny and, he gets on some of his guy, that's a basketball thing. If I did that to a couple of my girls, they'd wilt. They'd wilt like a cheap tent in the rain. Right. But I think part of that is learning them. I have a couple, I'll brag on Rachel here for a minute, but she was playing really bad at a tournament. And everybody else was playing great. And I didn't get in her face, but I was just like, you're just not playing good. I'm not proud of you right now. Can you please get it together? And sure enough, I kid you not, she went and birdied 3 holes. And so she can handle that. And so I think it's just the balance of, I think they know enough about me and that I feel like I'm good-hearted and kind-hearted and they know that I truly love them and care about them. So I think when you do get on them, it's she's doing this truly out of love. She doesn't want to tear us down. This is to make us better. And if she sees something and then I want that. Then I think that's part of building the trust and just being a good coach is, girls, I'm doing this out of love. I don't want you to hate me. I'm just trying to show you this is what needs to happen. And if I have to get on you a little bit or you weren't focused today, then accept it, process it, and move on. And the next day is going to be fine. So I think that's kind of what it is I think if they know your heart is in the right place, then you can be tough. And like I said, it's definitely, especially in golf, like you alluded to, there's some of my girls that I need to go over and I hug them and they're going to be upset and that's okay. And I have to have the kind-hearted side of me. And then there's the basketball coach side of me that comes out to some of them, but that's what they want. They want that. I'm not hitting the expectation of what you want today. I need to hear that. That's what I need is motivation. And I think that's just very much personality. It takes me, I'd say about 2 tournaments with freshmen to kind of know when I can push and when I need to hug. So
interesting. Okay. So I want to talk about the season in particular, but one more question on kind of the mental approach. One of the things about this, if people have listened or watched this over the past several weeks, is we've talking with every one of the coaches at Lipscomb University, our head coaches, and and we have a lot of coaches who like to listen or watch. So whether they coach golf or not, they, or whatever the sport is of the week, they just like kind of picking up ideas about coaching from other coaches.
Yep.
And so Bobby Knight, the coach at Indiana for years, famously said at one point, he may have been quoting somebody else, but I've always seen it attributed to him. He said, the mental is to the physical as 4 is to 1. And so he would say the mental is 4 times more important than the physical, even in basketball. I would think golf might be even greater in terms of that. So again, I guess I'm wondering, what are some of the biggest mental barriers, if you're just kind of categorizing, like, hey, as a coach, as a recruiter, as somebody who's given lessons, I can kind of categorize, mental challenges that I've seen more than once. What are some of the biggest mental barriers you've seen college, ladies, women's golfers have to overcome to really become good golfers?
Well, if we didn't have to go to school, no,
let's go back and remember what the GPA was of Lipscomb Women's Golf, so that we know you actually care about school. So
I do. Yeah, no, I'll say that
3.17 GPA. So we have an excellent golf team in the classroom. But
we do.
Go ahead.
No, I say that in a little, obviously being funny, but also being serious, because my girls do care so much about the classroom, and I recruit that. I mean, Lipscomb everybody knows how high academic we are. And so I'm very honest when I talk to girls and recruiting them or how high our academics are. So if we didn't have to go to school, like, I know my girls care so much about it and know the expectations of what I expect in the classroom, that sometimes even schoolwork gets mentally in our way, because they're worried about, yes, we've got to do when we get it back from a tournament, or we've got, oh my gosh, I've got that assignment due at midnight tonight. What am I going to do? It's 36 holes today. So I say that in all seriousness, because my girls care so much about it. But I also think just belief. Shooting under par, you have to get over the hurdle. And it starts very small. Like, hey, I'm just going to be under par for 5 or 6 holes today. Great. That's probably the first time you've ever done it. Well, now we're getting to 12 or 13 holes. So it's learning how to manage that and not think about the scoreboard. That's probably the biggest thing of, well, I want to shoot 1 under. I want to shoot it. No, don't think about it. Let the scoreboard take care of itself. You just play the game and let the game come to you, and that scoreboard will be exactly what it's supposed to be. So I think that's probably the biggest mental thing for girls of making sure we learn how to manage a round mentally, especially on 36-hole days. Like, I've even told them, hey, if you've got a 30-foot birdie putt and it's down the slope, and hey, just hit it to 3 feet, knock that in and move on. Like, you've got, you may have a 10-footer. Hey, baby. You may have she's back. You may have Lippy's back. You may have a 10-footer on the next hole that you really need to grind over to make for birdie. So don't waste all your energy in learning mentally how to manage that 40-footer until you can move on and be able to grind on the next hole.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that particular approach, but it makes sense. So let's talk a little bit about this season real quick for people who maybe didn't follow it as closely. The Lipscomb women's golf team won for the first time since 2013, won a team tournament this year. Actually won 2, but one at MSU Greenbrier. And then a couple weeks later followed up at Butler in the Butler Invitational and won that as well. Had a couple of close second place finishes in the fall as well. So the team really showed tremendous improvement. And then go to Kiowa in the spring, and it's probably one of the biggest tournaments in the nation, I guess. I mean,
yeah, it is. As far as Will, you need to ask Will about this tournament. He's like, gosh, I don't know how they manage 52 teams. So yes, it actually is known to being the biggest tournament in college golf every year. Okay,
so it was the biggest, and the team improves by over 20 spots from the year before. So great. Some of the we had the lowest as a team. We had the lowest 18 hole team round this year. The lowest 36, the lowest 54. So I mean, just hitting every mark of improvement. Really going along. So just making tremendous progress.
And we didn't even finish. We didn't even finish the season. So
Right. And then I was going to say, and then obviously March 12th comes, which is kind of a day that will live in college sports infamy, because that's when the NCAA decided that they weren't going to have spring championships. And within, just a day or two, that it was all shut down and that was it. So I've asked every coach this. I mean, do you remember kind of specifically where you were when all this was happening, or you don't really remember it exactly, just in a general sense?
No, I remember, especially when you're packing up your luggage to leave, because you and I spoke that day, and we'd spoken. I don't know if I spoke with you or John. I guess maybe even 5 or 6 hours before that, and he said, "Oh, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine," and then 6 hours later, you're saying, "Hey, we can't get on the plane." And just having to tell my girls, we're not getting on this flight. Like, I need you to go home and be safe. Like, that was probably the hardest thing. But, and then before we hear from the A-Sun, we're going to be done for the year. We hear that the NCAA saying we're going to be done for a year. And I even told my girls, I felt like a grieving process.
Yeah, right.
Like, I had to grieve with them. They lost their social. They lost their classes. They, obviously they finished them. But just losing all of that, just experiences that we didn't get to have their first spring break as a freshman. I think about that and how important that was to me. And I kind of told them the first, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks, like, I really felt like I grieved with them. And then kind of after they had grieved, I don't think I grieved till about a month later, and just realized, like, gosh, what could have been. But I've also, I actually sent a text to my girls yesterday, and have really been praying through this season. And I told them, Tony Evans, do you know who Tony Evans is?
Yes, I do.
He was recorded at Church of the City. He gave a great speech on fatherhood and what it looks like to grieve, and kind of through his losing his wife back in December. And he said, whenever something like this happens, God is up to something. And I've been really praying that. And I told my girls that, I don't know why the season got cut, but I feel like something special is coming this next year. Whatever it is, God's up to something. So,
yeah. Well, I do know this. We try to talk to athletes about, be in the moment and appreciate every opportunity you have, and that kind of thing. And I have to think that this particular class that just went through this doesn't need any more lessons on that. I mean,
no, they don't. I don't need any more lessons.
Right. But I mean, I think it does, just the fact that you're out walking the course, and yeah, it might be 97 degrees and sweltering hot, or it may be, drizzling the whole time you're out there, and, whatever you might think is kind of miserable in your sport, at least there's still a sense of like, hey, it's just a blessing to get to do this. And because of where I was, I happened to be here at Lipscomb. I was in the office when all this was happening. And so I actually went out and talked to the baseball team. They're obviously just right outside the door there when this happened. And I'd had one of the coaches say, hey, can you come tell me what's going on here? I'm kind of hearing all this stuff. And I just remember having to tell them. And I've told plenty of people. I just wrote a letter for our annual report that's about to come out. And I started out by saying, I felt like I was looking at 35 people who had all had a season-ending injury at the same time. It's kind of that same feeling, like I've been around before when somebody blows out their ACL, and like right then, you just know it's like, that's it, it's over. If they're a senior, like they're not playing again. And like you said, I mean, it's a real grieving process, and there's all these emotions. But to your point, I mean, I do think that there will be individuals and teams who will come back saying, man, I appreciate this game more than ever now, and just to be out on the tee box with my friends, is a real blessing.
Yeah. And I think that too. And I've had, FaceTime, had Zoom calls with them, and had Shannon get on, and she kind of alluded to that. And I just told him, I said, there's days I don't want to go to practice. I mean, we all feel that. There's just days with weight on us, or it's been a long week, whatever it looks like. But I hope on that Friday at 3:30, and we're exhausted, that we still want to practice. Because I think, we lost 3 months of just really good practice and whatnot. So I hope that they appreciate it, and I think they do. And I think I'll appreciate the time more with each other. So
So I'm curious about this, and I want to just kind of ask a little bit about, what's been going on since and that sort of thing. But you mentioned this earlier about, kind of the individual and team dynamic here. I'm curious from your perspective, how you go about developing a team culture in what is essentially an individual sport. I'm curious about that because you said as a coach, hey, I'd rather have the odds of, winning, being the 1 out of 7 versus the 1 out of 60 who actually wins the tournament. So how do you think about developing this team culture in what's essentially an individual sport?
Yeah, so I think it really does start with the first phone call. 22s have just been opened up for us to really talk to, and I'm very honest with them from the first moment of, I care about team. I do. I recruit a very specific kid to Lipscomb because I want you to understand that it's much bigger than you. The academics matter. And I will even say, hey, I'm blunt. I'm very honest. I'm very blunt. That's the way that I coach. If you don't think that you can handle this, like I don't want you to feel that you don't understand that when you get here. Like, this is who I am, and my girls that are here understand that. So I think that just being very upfront of, I really want us to win championships. And I say championships meaning a unit. But yes, did we celebrate when Emily, got player of the week and Rachel did? Absolutely. And we did. And I even alluded to that. I don't think Emily got player of the year, except we won as a team and she led us there. So I think just starting with the initial phone call and then reminding us, like, this is bigger than you at all times. Like, and I've even told my girls this, some coaches don't put their golf name on the front of their golf bag. Because they feel like that's a little conceited, and it's every coach's preference. I put mine on the front of the bag because my girls have worked their tail off. They've earned their spot as a Division I golfer at Lipscomb, and that's an honor in itself. So I put their American flag, or if they're international, their flag, and I put their name. And I remind them constantly of, yes, Lipscomb is on that bag, but it's on the side. But the reason I allow it to be on the side is because I think that you guys in particular, and you understand how I am, that you are willing to play for the name on that side of the bag so that you can have the name on the front of the bag.
Yeah. Makes sense. Well, so let's talk a little bit about recruiting. You've mentioned that you've started to see some, fruits of kind of the success that's happened, and people are getting to know our program, getting to know you as a coach and that sort of thing. What kind of challenges have you faced just as a result of kind of the circumstances of the moment? Has that really changed a lot about what you're doing recruiting wise, or not so much yet?
I'll say yes and no. I've been very honest. My 21 class is complete. I got my last commitment 3 weeks ago, I guess. So I'm done with 21.
No names until they sign.
Yeah, no names. I won't give a name.
Okay.
But big deal there that she committed. And then the 22 class, I've just been very honest. I mean, obviously with this extra year, none of us even know how to manage that just yet. And it's going to take some time. And I've got some girls that, is that affecting us at all?
Not bothering me. I know you have a dog in there, so.
Okay, can you splash that out, Tanner? But I don't think it's affecting yet. I've just been very honest with 22s of saying, hey, I don't know what this looks like yet. I'm going to be honest with you and say I may bring in 2, but I've got some girls that have to make some decisions if they're going to take their extra year or not, and I'm trying to be loyal to them. And I've even said, hey, I may have to redshirt a girl. I just don't know. And I think that brutal honesty with these 22s, I mean, they're still – I mean, I could have girls get hurt. I could have transfers. I mean, you just don't know. I mean, you're talking – it's a year and a half away before they sign. So I think just that honesty and just think, I just don't know, but I'm going to recruit you. And they have really – most of the people I've spoken have really appreciated that. So I don't really expect us to hurt us that much. I think if you're honest and upfront and are good with the girls, that they understand.
When you're looking at golfers, I mean, obviously, one thing is it's pretty objective. You can just look at their, their scores and that sort of thing. But are there other things that you're looking for when you're recruiting that, kind of help you think, hey, this person's a really an appealing prospect, or there's some things I see here that make them not so appealing to me? Is there anything like that beyond the scores? Let's accept that you can kind of see what their averages are and all of that. But what else do you kind of think about?
It's funny. I got asked that. I work at the golf course, obviously, in the summer part-time, and they were having a little junior tournament. I was in the pro shop, so I was not doing anything wrong. I'll go ahead and throw that out there. One of the girls that plays there said, "I'm just curious, what do you look for?" Just a member there was just talking to me about it, and I said, I look for, if I fly across the country to watch you play, and I would assume every other coach is going to say this, but maybe not. I already know you're a good golfer. I mean, I've seen your swing. I've spoken to you. I at least think you're worth my time and money to fly across the country. I don't even really, yes, I watch golf and I look for the potential, absolutely. But I actually look at everything else when I recruit you. I look at your character. I look at the way, if you have to have a ruling with a rules official, how do you handle that? Are you a brat, or are you yes, sir, absolutely, yes, ma'am, or can we just talk more about this? How you handle your parents, how you handle your opponents. If they're having a bad day, are you still nice to them? Or if you are having a bad day, are you still nice to your opponents? Like, I look more past just the score and look for character. And I think that truly speaks to our Lipscomb and our culture and our family and what that means, because I can't change your attitude. If you act like a brat at 16, you're probably going to act like a brat when you get to college. Like, that's just, I feel that way. And I know that strongly, but I truly feel that. But hey, let's say that you have a great attitude and you're right at that cusp. And then maybe you come here and you flourish with a better team, and I can fix your golf game. I can make you a better golfer, but I can't fix your attitude. I can't fix your heart. And that's just so important as a recruit. And I would tell recruits that, like, I'm looking at your heart. I really am.
Yeah. And that's great advice. And, we talked to Lauren Sumsky, the head women's basketball coach here, and she shared with us, I try to ask some of the questions are same because it's kind of coaching is kind of the same across sports. And I thought it was interesting. She talked about Bill Stelf, who's the current coach at Kansas, is who she credited with this idea. And he said that he likes to see a recruit having a great game, an average game, and a bad game. He wants to see all three. Is that kind of you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I meant to say that too, but yes, that is so true. I honestly a girl that's on my team right now, I flew across the country. She played awful. I mean, awful. And I called and talked to her after, and she said, I think you're going to pull my scholarship. And I was like, why would I do that? So I played terrible. And I said, that's not what I'm calling about. I'm calling to praise you. Yeah. You played awful, and you played with 2 14-year-olds, and you were so gentle with them, and you were so good to them and so nice to them. I can work with your short game. Like, we can work on that, but I can't change the way you treated those girls. So yes, I have actually said I would rather watch you on a bad day so that I know how you handle your adversity more than on a good day. So I'm glad I didn't know he said that. That is 100% truth.
Yeah, that's a good place. I'm going to mark this time on here because I just think for parents especially, I'm actually talking with a friend who's got a child who's an athlete, and he's kind of struggling right now. And, I want to make the point to him, like, hey, I know you think like, right now while you're struggling, that's really hurting your chances. But honestly, if you'll show that you have the ability to grind and kind of work through it and maintain a good attitude, that's actually something coaches want to know, beforehand. And so they can't pick that up on a huddle tape that, only shows your 3 minutes worth of highlights or whatever. So it sounds like it's the same for you. So let me ask you this. Do you have any advice for parents who are trying to get their kids involved in golf? You've coached, college players, but you've also, I know, given lessons to pretty young players too. I mean, you kind of all across the board, so you've got experience. Do you have any advice for, moms or dads who are trying to get their daughter into the game just kind of early on? Anything to think about, work on, avoid, any of that kind of stuff?
My number one recruiting rule, besides looking at the heart, is I recruit the parents. So please don't act like a fool because your kid's playing bad. It's such a turnoff.
I'll second that, by the way.
It's such a I understand that you want your kid to play well, but you acting like a fool is not going to fix it, I promise.
Right.
Encourage them, and that's so much better. And I know you feel the pressure just as much as they do. So just be cool. I guess that's probably the word I would say. Be cool. For a golf, I'm obviously biased. We're in Tennessee, but Tennessee junior golf is phenomenal. I don't know if you follow the SNED store or know anything about that, but just throwing that out there, a humble brag on them. They are phenomenal. You can be a true beginner, and they have different leagues of like beginner and master and elite, and just kind of that you can really find where your kid needs to go. And especially if they just need to play a tournament, they've never done that before, and you want a caddy for them. Like, so just SNED store, yes, get them involved. Playing a tournament's not easy. And so I would say if they get really serious about it, that's one of the first things you need to do. Like, yes, they may be a great range player, but they've got to know how it feels to be on a golf course with their clubs playing on their own. So yeah, that's probably my biggest piece of advice. And then especially if you live in Tennessee, which I'm sure most people that are listening are, SNED's Tour, the Tennessee Golf Association, they have a lot of great events. You know, they even have a parent-child that you can go and play, and, you know, that may get your kid involved if you're a pretty good golfer. So it really does help with recruiting that we are in Nashville. Obviously, that's a hotbed for golf in the South, but Tennessee does a phenomenal job.
Huh. Okay, so I'm going to make you Michael Wan for a day. You're going to be commissioner of the game here, and you know, you can make any change you want to golf whatsoever. It could be rule change. It could be, you know, kind of the way they do this, you know, format, tournament, anything whatsoever. You're in charge of golf now, and you know, there's something that, like, I've always thought, like, if I was in charge, this is what I would do. So now you're in charge for a day or two. Any changes you'd make to the game of golf right now?
All right, we had this massive revision of rules here recently. If you're a golfer, you know what I'm talking about. Why we drop it from our knee length drives me crazy. As my dog is going to ask.
Lippy doesn't like that either, by the way.
No, she doesn't. She does not. We need to just be placing. Just need to be placing the ball. Like they say, it's supposed to speed up play. If you're still on a hill, guess what? The ball's still going to roll in the hazard. So let's just place the ball. It's eventually going to happen anyway. Like I think in the next 10 years that's going to happen. So just place it. Let's just, you know, you're not going to gain that much by placing it. You've already taken a penalty stroke. That's my opinion on that. And the other is we've changed all these rules, but you can't get out of a divot in the fairway. If I'm in the fairway, if I'm in the rough, that's fine. Like I deserve the divot. That's fine. Right. But because somebody else is careless, I feel really passionate about this, by the way.
This is perfect. This is what I'm
very passionate about.
I'm trying to push the coaches' hot buttons on this. So
I'm so passionate about the divots.
Okay.
If somebody is walking and they don't have sand, and so they can't fill a divot, and then I end up in that divot, that's not fair. It's just not fair. I've done everything right, and I still end up in a divot in the fairway. Like, now I'm going to get penalized. I know that's part of just golf and the bad bounce and the bad breaks, but I think that's just a little bit absurd.
But in the fairway, see, that would bug me too. I'd be like, hey, I've done a good job of keeping it out here, you know, in the short stuff. And, you know, if it's rough or whatever, you kind of, whatever you get's what you get. But the fairway, you would expect, hey, I'm going to get a pretty good lie here. So,
yes,
I'm actually with you on that. I think I'm going to go with you on that. Okay, so I'm happy to know that there are actually some things that you're pretty passionate about in trying to change the game. Have given that some thought. We'll see if we can work on that. We'll kind of come down the stretch here, ask a few just kind of personal questions, get to know you a little bit. I know some of the people that listen to this are either fans of the golf program who you know, want to know you, know the program, but also might be sometimes recruits or other coaches or whatever. So we'll just talk a little bit about that. Somehow, some way, I'm not at all opposed to this because my father's the exact same way. You became a big Braves fan. I don't know. Is that just, you know, growing up in Rainbow City, Alabama, that was like one of the closest place, or your dad, or How did you develop such a? Because you're a pretty passionate Braves fan, I have to admit.
I am a very passionate Braves fan. I don't know if y'all saw the alert. There's a good chance it's coming back July 1. There's nobody more happier about this than me because the Braves are supposed to be really good this year. Anyway, yes. It's kind of just a thing, I guess. If you're from Alabama, you're just a Braves fan. They were very good back in obviously the early 90s. And, actually I think did they go on strike around 93? Is that right?
You're right. Yeah.
Somewhere
That's
in there,
right.
93, 94. That's when I was born. So my dad says that he slacked off in watching because he and my mom actually watched David Justice when I was being born. So it's probably their fault that I'm a big Braves fan.
Right.
My mom literally says she watched him. And so
that makes me feel older, by the way, when you say that, because I wasn't anywhere close to being young when that happened. So
I'm sorry to bring that up.
Yeah, keep going.
I don't remember the strike, so does that make you feel any better?
Keep on moving. So
and so I guess when I was about 7 or 8, he wouldn't watch it with me because Dad was still on strike from them striking. And so I was upstairs watching, and I apparently ran downstairs and like, Dad, did you just see what happened? He's like, what are you talking about, babe? And I was like, the Braves, they just wanted a walk-off. And so I had been upstairs watching it, and he had no idea. And so that kind of became a thing, and he would talk about David Justice and, Chipper. I love Chipper. And just, I guess it's kind of – and also I love softball then too. So that was kind of our thing, and we usually go once a year. And it got announced last year they're hosting the I'm going to blank on what it's called, the All-Star Weekend or All-Star Week. And I immediately called him at work and was like, we're going all week. I don't care. It's on my bucket list. You just better figure it out.
Nice. So you're I think a country music fan, at least you kind of indicate this somewhat on social media. So, if you've got your headphones, don't know if you put your headphones in when you're on the range or whatever, but if you're kind of like listening to little country music pre-round or whatever, you have any favorites right now? Anybody that you really like at the moment, or just you're kind of depends on the day?
Lady A.
Okay.
They're one of my favorites. I'm a big Cole Swindell. I like a lot of Luke Combs' new stuff.
Okay.
There's a new band out called Gone West. It's actually Colby Calais, and she's joined up with her husband and another couple. They're phenomenal.
Okay.
I used to play piano, so that's a fun fact a lot of people don't know. I can play the piano and I can sing, and so I can love their harmony.
Okay.
And I'm also a little Big Town groupie. And I don't know if you saw the post yesterday. I meant to repost it, but Thomas Rhett's wife, Lauren, posted Thomas Rhett in a Lipscomb golf shirt. So he's a Lipscomb golf fan. It's fantastic.
Lipscomb grad. So people need to know. People need to know that connection. Well, yeah, we definitely need to repost that. So, well, okay. So we'll kind of wrap it up here. Really appreciate you spending the time with us today, and hopefully people have learned a little bit more about the program. Getting excited about what's coming up here. It won't be long. I saw our women's golf program is starting to introduce our team for just started yesterday on social media, introducing our team for next year, which is a good sign because that means we're getting closer. It's almost July, and then we'll be back at it before you know it. But ask you real quickly now. Okay, I asked you to start off if I was in Rainbow City and I was going on a recruiting visit, and you're going to take me to breakfast or lunch as a recruit. Where you take me now? But you're in Nashville, and so Nashville's a foodie heaven for people who love restaurants and food and that sort of thing. So is there any go-to restaurants you have in Nashville for you personally or for recruits, anything that you're just like, yeah, that's one of my go-tos? Somebody maybe wanting to come in for the 4th of July holiday, give them some recommendation or two maybe.
All right, I'm going to give 3.
Okay.
Number 1, I'm going to give a shout-out to Courtney Shelton. She's my assistant. She's phenomenal. So thankful we have her. And we've developed quite a friendship too. So if I don't say Baja Burrito, she's probably going to stroke. So Baja Burrito is one of them. And the girls love that one too. So I definitely say
tea, by the way. So
fruit tea. If I ever go and get it for her to go, I get 2 of them, one for then and one for later. That's just a fun friendship fact about Courtney Shelton. The other one would be, if you want to go somewhere nice, Bricktops. Okay. Bricktops is also fantastic sushi. And my dad says that yes, it's phenomenal. My dad has been to Memphis and had ribs there, which is obviously the rib capital of the world. And he says the ribs at Bricktops are the best he's ever had. And he's traveled internationally. So just FYI, if you've never had the ribs at Bricktops, there you go. And then probably my personal favorite is Mojos Tacos in
the factory.
In the factory, yes.
I love it.
I'm literally going there for lunch today.
So funny.
I love those tacos. And they actually, just an FYI, if you have a dog, they have outside seating. They're pet friendly. So just shout out to Lippy. She gets to go to Mojo's Tacos sometime.
Oh, so. She's been a good pup today then. So,
yes.
So that actually is, I live about halfway between Nashville and Franklin in an area called Brentwood, for people who are familiar with this Nashville area. And so I'll go out to Mojo at the factory in Franklin. It literally used to be a factory that's now kind of a shopping area. And so I have my go-to there is I usually get a hot chicken, and then I get, believe it or not, I like the Korean cauliflower is awesome. Yeah. Look.
For those of you that are listening, he's not doing very good. My face is not happy right now.
No, look, I've had the fish tacos. I've had a lot of the other things too, but just they have a lot of different kinds of tacos. But so what's your go-to? Real quick on that,
the steak. It's a steak taco, and they have just the old school, and it's got some kind of salsa and cheese on it. Oh my gosh! Now I have friends that I go with fish tacos and the avocado.
My wife likes the avocado. That's her favorite, like the fried avocado or something. So
I hope Mojo's Tacos has a long list for whenever this airs, because they're going to have a lot of people that are going to be craving it now. So
they have excellent Mexican street corn too, by the way.
Yes, they do.
So that's a pretty long plug. We ought to have had them for a sponsor here today. We gave them about a minute worth of great advertising, but I don't care. I like them. And they actually have a Lipscomb grad that's one of their managers. So
I did not know that, but they are really the friendliest staff too. I will say that. They're so nice.
Yeah. Well, look, it's been great having you on here. We're looking forward to getting back to action soon. I want to remind people that if they haven't followed our women's golf team yet, the way to do that on Twitter or Instagram is at Lipscomb W Golf. So just follow us on Instagram, on Twitter. If you want to follow Coach Lawley, it's at Jesse, Jesse _ Lawley, Lawley. So that's on Twitter and Instagram. She's done a very good job of maintaining brand consistency on both the team social feeds and her personal social feeds. So well done there. Again, on Twitter or Instagram. If you want to follow Lipscomb Athletics, it's at Lipscomb Bisons on all the social, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube. You can follow us on all those things. And the way you get information every day is to go to lipscombsports.com, and that's our website. Shout out, we're giving a lot of shout outs today, but I'll give it to Brent McMillan and Kirk Downs, who both people in our office have worked really hard on a website upgrade, and we just launched it about a week ago. Looks fantastic. Lots of new functionality on it. Probably get to these types of things easier, the videos and the podcasts and that sort of thing, straight from the homepage. So great job by Brent and Kurt getting that done, along with other people. We had a lot of other people involved in that, but they were kind of leading the way. So it's been great having you, Jesse. We'll look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon. Tell Lippy that she was a good dog today. So give her a treat for doing such a good job during this time. And we'll look forward to seeing you in Lipscomb Golf in the 2021 season.
Looking forward to it. Just say everybody stay safe and go Bisons.
Go Bisons.